Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. Last week we did a lot of work on the bilge baffles and the galley cabinetry. This week we're going to do the final laminating on this boat.
Right. We've done tons of it, particularly on the hulls, on the bottoms and such. Lamination, if you don't know, is when you put a large sheet of fiberglass over something. And we've got two main areas left to get laminated, and those are the insides of the chamfer panels up in the bow, and we have to laminate the outsides of the Daggerboard casings. And so we're going to get to all that this week and more. So it was a very busy week. So let's show you everything we got done. All right, so what goes in there? Let's put this. No, let's put this in here and see what happens. Is this the right height? Okay. So this is a nav layout. We've changed it yet again. That's why we laid it out once a long time ago. But these corners are going to go in here, and one here to round these two corners. And this is where all the electronics are going to be. And then we're going to make this so it's hinged right here and folds open like this so that we can get to all the wiring and electronics whenever we want to. And the rest of the time, it's like that. It looks like there's enough room if we want to get two people in here. Come on in, Marianne, that we can just fit two people in here, because sometimes you want to collaborate on route planning and that kind of stuff, or if one person's doing one thing and then one gets on the radio, they can sit down. So there's just enough room for two people there. The other thing this showed us is this whole wall is going to be hidden away here. So we only have to do so much fairing on that wall, which is good because that's all hidden away. Now over on this other side where the table is, I'm not sure what's going to be exposed there, so we might have to fair that area. Once we get the table in, we'll see how high the backs go up and see how much fairing we need to do on that. We really haven't faired it yet. You can see it's rough still. That's because we didn't sure how much of it we needed to fair, but we'll get there. We already made one corner for the nav station, but it turns out we need two of these. And this is probably the last rounded corner we have to make for the whole boat now. I took a look and this is it. So we got one more to make. We still kept our forms that we used to make these ones. So we have our forms, so it should be easy enough. All we have to do here is kerf and cut a board. All right. Okay, and we're going to fill our kerfs. Now, I mentioned this before. People want us to bend them the other direction, but we prefer doing it this way because you can get the epoxy down in there. If we do it the other way, we have to bend it both directions to do it. And then the other thing is that we already tried it, and with this number of curves, you can't get a 90, so you'd have to double. You have to cut twice as many. So it just works out easier to do it this way. In case you're wondering why we curve it this direction, it's going to be just as strong either way. That one harden up, and then we'll be ready to assemble our nav station. Turns out we can build the nav station without finishing the ceiling. I'll show you why. So we didn't want to deal with this because we wouldn't be able to reach it, but if you'll notice, I can go right in here in the nav station, so it's not going to be any problem to work in here. So we can go ahead and start constructing this. And the first part was getting those 2 rounded corners. And then next thing we'll do is glue this shelf right here in against the wall, and then we can glue the face over to it, and the rounded corner and the flat piece there to that shelf. Then we can put the top down after that. So the next thing up is to cut this shelf. So we're gonna do that right now. So this shelf is now ready to be glued in. We don't have to core it because there's stuff being glued on all sides of it to it. So it's ready to go. So I'm gonna go upstairs and figure out where this goes. Alright, so we got this all leveled on here and glued to the wall along there. And we're just going to let that set up. And our Faraday cage area is going to be over here. And then this will just be storage below. And to the bow side here, it will be storage as well. But we're going to have that one little area for that Faraday cage. So. And we've got the curve there for the curved corner, and we've already cut the curve over here as well. This is the desk top, and that's where it matches up to the curve with that one. So this will come together pretty quickly. It's just a little odd that we have to glue the shelf in before we can glue everything else to it, and that's to do with this curve, because we can't slide it in from either end because of the curve. So it had to go in there on its own first. We're back after lunch, and gonna get some further work done on the nav station. We can't actually mount anything else right now because that shelf is still going to be gluing in all day. We need that really set well before we can do that. But this is the desktop, and so we've already got our curved edges cut onto it, but I need to core all the way around this portion here because that's all going to be exposed. Over here, that side and this side will be glued to things, but here it's going to get exposed. So I'm going to core these out. All right, so we've got the edge put on here, and while we were at it, just for the heck of it, to match the curves that we have here for the corners, we put curves on the corners in there, just some matching curves on there, just to make it look nice. And it's bright and early here on a Tuesday, and that's why it's kind of dark, but we get an early start. And we made 4 more of these L brackets yesterday, and I just want to show how easy it is to get these off with these release agents. That's it. Put that over there. Boom. Over here, we've got our cored and filled area, and then these are the little corners we put into to give this the same rounded surface around here. You can see that worked out well. And these two offcuts from the corners of these two, we just flipped them around over here, you know, from that one over there, flipped it around. So that works perfectly. It makes a much nicer corner there. We showed you guys fixing the kerfing on the outside of the chamfer panel earlier in I think last week's video. But it's the inside that actually has the cuts into it. And so we've already filled them with thick epoxy and gave it a sand, but you see just how curved this is. I mean, it's total checkerboard pattern here. And we've got to put a layer of glass on this to make this strong again, since this is all curved. Again, there's glass on the other side of this now, but we need it on both sides. So we're gonna do that right now. I'm ready to go. Kick you in the teeth. Those are expensive teeth. We don't want to kick those. I don't know. Okay, we finished up the lamination of this stuff and got this sail locker done, and we also have all of the cabin area there. We're into full production this morning. We're making more of our L brackets here, so we got all that cut here and we're ready to do that. These are all release agent put on. These are the ones we've already done before. We've also filled in all of the gaps here on our last baffles. So those are setting up and we'll sand those afterwards. And upstairs, we're into production on our Nav Station. So the first cupboards are in there and got our curved edge put on here. Our shelf was already in. The one down there, there's actually a hatch that comes, so we don't leave a bottom on it because the hatch has to have room to slide out. But so that's all set. Once this one's set up here, that'll give us all the distances over to do this other side over here, because we just set the desktop on top of there, and that'll give us all these locations over here. So first thing is we wanted to get that part glued on. We're also going to try to work on the Daggerboard casings, and we've cut all of the Basalt and peel ply. It's all sitting right there, so those are ready to go. And we're going to go down the side of the boat here and start sanding this curved area of the chamfer panel. We already finished the other side, all glass. This one we've got to sand still and then glass. So I don't know that we'll glass that today, but we're certainly going to get it sanded. So lots of things are getting done today. And I had a long list of things for today. So we jumped right on it. It's already been only an hour and we've already got that nav desk glued in and these done. We're ready to go on these, so we cut all that. So we'll be moving on to those casings soon. And we'll take those out, probably put them on the table over there and start wrapping the outside of the casings. Once those are wrapped, if it gets warm, which is, we're having a odd week again. We're into fall, but in California, yeah, you can have a hot week any day, any month of the year. So it was 93 yesterday, this in Celsius, but today it's dropped down. Today the high is going to be about 87, that in Celsius, and that means it gets a little bit too warm in the afternoon to do epoxy work. That's why we're into production of all the epoxy stuff this morning. And so this afternoon, when it's warmer, is when we'll sand those chamfer panels and get that prepped so that tomorrow we can put the lamination on to those curved areas. And that will complete all the lamination inside and outside of that curved chamfer panel up at the bow there. Now we've got a lot of other things that we got to do up at the bow, but at least we're starting on the bow, and it's a long grocery list of things. And what I'm trying to do on that is, instead of trying to do it all, we're doing other things, and then we do something on the bow, we do some other things, we do something on the bow. And so by the time we really go to concentrate on the bow, hopefully we've cut that bow work way down so that it isn't overwhelming, because that's the largest amount of things besides the plumbing and stuff in there. But we're well on the way on those fluid tanks that are in the bottoms of the bilge area. So speaking of that, we should be getting our pre-made 5 water tanks delivered today. And so that's another thing we can start into, is we got to put a floor in to set those tanks on up in the forward compartments. And so we'll have to get the offcuts out and figure out what we're going to put down there for the flooring. But I want to get the tanks first so we can measure and make sure they're going to fit, and the height of that floor can vary. So we'll make sure that they're going to work and such before we decide the height of the floor. But that's for tomorrow, if those tanks come today, or today is Thursday, or Saturday if they arrive tomorrow. But today we have a bunch of glassing and gluing and epoxy tasks that we're trying to get done. So Brian's been over there refilling the epoxy, which is why I took a moment to chat with you about things. But he should be just about done. So we'll get to work on this in just a moment. Next up on the long hit list that we had for ourselves for today is to start glassing, well, actually basalting these casings on the outside. That'll finish them off and make them ready to mount into the boat. So this is the final stage on these before fitting in the boat and angling the sides when we cut into the boat, cutting the holes in the boat, all that stuff. But as far as the casing goes, it's final stage. It's early in the morning and we're starting on a big lamination job. We're going to do this Daggerboard casing here. And so we've got it suspended on a pole because we're going to have to do all this whole thing, and we can't lay it down anywhere. And we've got to put all of these layers of basalt on here in a specific order that Schoening wants us to do. So we're going to get to that and see how this first one goes. I got to get it cleaned up. Brian's mixing already. That was unfortunately, the penultimate, because we got to do this whole job again tomorrow on the second Daggerboard. But this one's good enough. The peel ply isn't sticking perfectly everywhere. That's okay. This is going to be sealed up inside of another box inside the boat. We'll never be touching or seeing this again. We considered not even putting peel ply on this to start with, so mostly just makes it easier to handle. But if it's not a perfect finish on it, it's not the end of the world for a Daggerboard, like I say, a Daggerboard casing inside of another box inside the boat. We're over on the starboard side of the boat, and we already did the port side of this job, but we've got to laminate this curved area. It goes all the way from back here, 2 compartments up, and we got to do all of that right now. First thing I got to do is get it vacuumed out and then cleaned, and then we'll start getting the lamination on. We've already cut it all. That's the big one. Next, we're going to do that about half the size of this one. And then we'll move over in this compartment and do the 2 smaller ones over on that side. And then we'll call this finished. And that will be the end of our repairs to the curved chamfer panel. So inside and out. I'll be happy to be done with that. It's always nice to be done with anything. So we'll be done with that. And today, for sure, my new water tanks are arriving at the house. The Admiral is there to get them. And then we'll bring them down and see how they fit. They will fit because I've measured, but we'll see how high we want to put the floor and below them and all that adjustment area there. So right where I'm standing is where these 2 water tanks here and 2 on the exact same compartment on the other side. So we'll be able to start messing with that. We got this part in. Now we'll get the floor in for here, and then the water tanks can go here. We won't put the water tanks in yet, but we'll test fit them and get them ready to go in, and then we'll just go store them in our shipping container until we're ready to get a little further along so we can fair and paint all this stuff as much as we're going to in this compartment on here. Then once these water tanks are configured, then we can put the bed support that goes right here, and it goes all the way to here, so the bed is this wide, and we have to make it so that we can access this from the bed, so this bed support can't be permanently glued in here, so we'll have to figure out how we want to deal with that. Whether we want to put a frame in with a removable hatch on each side, and then so that hatch could lift out. We'll see how big the water tanks are. The hatch have to be big enough that the water tanks can come out of them. So we got some things to figure out as far as access to our water tanks here. So you move the mattress out, and you have to have some way of taking the mattress support out and coming into the water tank. Always something to do. Then the only thing left in this cabin to do after that is mostly we have to put shelving in here, and I might put a shelf or 2 up high up there as well. At least one up at this level here. So you get more storage there. Might make that a cupboard. But we've got shelves for cupboards going in here, and at least one high one up there. I could even put a smaller one here to get a bunch of storage in here. But that space is just wasted if we don't do that. Two down, two to go. Where I'm sitting in here, if you don't remember, is where we're going to have our workbench. And we still got some work to do this here. What we're going to be doing is cutting this out and putting in a workbench right here. You have the stool underneath that you can pull out and sit down right here and work on something like toilet pump that has gone bad, and you don't want to work on that out on your kitchen table and get the smell of that stuff everywhere in the boat. Well, this compartment, other than this hatch, which is outside of the boat area, so you can work on nasty stuff in here. But it's also good for like rebuilding a winch. You can bring it in here and take it apart on the bench, and then if you're not done with it and you need to do something else, you can stay there while you go. So we like the idea of a small workbench here. We'll have some tools up on the sides in two cupboards up on the sides, and then behind me in this whole compartment is spare parts. We'll probably have bins in here filling up with some spare parts and such. I haven't figured out how we're going to lock those down. Probably have to put some mounts in for straps so we can strap those down so they're not rattling around in here. But we'll figure that out. But this is what this area is going to be, is spare parts storage and workbench and tools. Like I say, this could get cut out. Now on the other side, there's an opening here which we have to seal up because that used to be a cupboard here, but we're going to just seal it up for a wall. And there was none. Okay, another job done today, and another finished thing. Finished repairing the kerfing. So, yay, something's done. We've got our water tanks in. This is our 20-gallon tank. This is the one that we're going to collect rainwater into before we pump it through filters and over into one of the larger tanks. And then these are two of our water tanks. Two of these go in one side of the boat and two go on the other side. I don't have the other two right here, but there are four of these total. We're going to be able to go ahead and fit these into the compartment now and find out how the spacing goes. Oh, it looks sunny, but while it's still early, it's still cool enough. We're going to do Daggerboard casing number 2. And so we've just sanded all the areas that needed to be sanded. And then Jeff's just cleaning it all up right now. Brian's going to mix up some thickened epoxy because we've got a few little spots that we need to put in, including the screw holes on either side. And then on top of that, over here, we've got some of our baffles, and they have various minor issues with them that we're going to fix because these can't leak. Now they'll be sealed later as well, but we want to start out with them sealed. For example, we found a pinhole right here, so we got to fill that. So each one of them has a tiny little bit to fix. So we're going to do that as well right now. Brian and Jeff a few props this morning. See, behind the scenes, Brian's always over here mixing me up epoxy when I need it, but it's more than that. He gets stuff ready. For example, I don't even have to look because there's already a roller and a metal roller over here ready to go, because he just preps stuff like that. And then Jeff, he'll do all the dirty jobs if I want. He's perfectly willing to sand and clean and do all of those jobs no matter what they are. And so this gives me time to do some of the planning and that kind of stuff, because I don't have to do all of those little tasks that they're helping me with. So thank you to Jeff and Brian and all my other workers when they are here and showing up to do work. I really do appreciate everybody. So all done, and we're happy to have the second one, because you know those darn catamarans, they always have two of everything. You know, yesterday I was dreading doing the second one because this was a lot of work, but today not only am I back not as sore because Jeff was here to do half of it, but we finished the second one, so I don't have to dread doing a third one because this is it. So with that big job done this morning, we'll move on to more exciting and fun things for us. Forgot to say, this is the last lamination on the entire boat. There's no more large flat surfaces that we have to glass or basalt on the entire boat. Everything else is just tabbing, sanding, fairing, you know, that kind of stuff, but last lamination. What Brian and Jeff are up to right now is they're chopping up our table. This used to be the foam piece that was going to be the table for the small seating area. But we want to make that table out of marine ply because we want to be able to etch the names of our patrons in the top anyway. And we need to raise the height of the seats on that table because they were just cut too low in the original stuff we got from Schoening. We're working on not only the nav station here, and where we've already glued in all this stuff here, but we haven't glued the top in, but this is where it goes, and that shows us where this corner goes, which is not glued in there yet. And that allows us to get over here where we can figure out how the seat goes. And the reason there's this notch right here is we have to raise the level of the seat, and that's what they're cutting out there right now. Then this piece is the next thing we're going to work on. It needs to get cut off back here because we shortened this so that the compression post for the mast right here has room. And so we're going to have to cut this off in there, but that has to get notched as well so that part of it goes in over this back and part of it sits on here. Or sits inside of here, I should say. So there's a lot of customizing of this. Now the seat back will also, once it's in here, have to get notched around this mullion. But remember, the mullion's something we changed to make more beefier, so it's not Schoening's fault here, but we're going to have to notch this to fit inside that mullion area right there. Now the height of this, you just slide this out. Once it's in place, will be something like this. And because the seat back you want to be the same height all the way around to where it matches up over here at this height. So that will continue all the way around over onto this. But that puts this projecting over the top like this of the desk, which is no problem. What I might do is put a small board. Let me grab one. This is not exactly high enough, but I'll probably put a board that goes up to this height here and create this thicker looking straight wall just there. And the other thing we did that's not in the plan is that this seat back over here, as you can see from the plans, is angled here. And so is that back one back there, which is great for sitting, but then they had this one straight up and down. So we're changing that to put the same sloped angle onto this all the way around the seating. So that's just a modification we're making. And all it does is make the back wall of the storage area slanted, which we don't care. But it makes the seat much more comfortable to sit in all the way around the table. So those are some things we're working on right now. And the other one is that this is the seat, the table post that goes, out here and raises the table or lowers the table leg. And this go down so we can turn this into a daybed. And you can see is if we had put this with the original height, it would never have gone down low enough. So we're raising all of the seating with these risers that are going to go up that high like that. And that gives room for this table to sit in here and have plenty of space for the height adjustment to the right height, because this will actually be this tall with a seat sitting on it. So that makes that work. And just so you know, that also makes this seat exactly the same height as that seat, because that table over there uses the same exact legs as we have over here. So they all have to be about the same all the way around. And we're getting our table laid out here, our daybed, and I say most of the time this is going to be daybed. But that's where the backs go. This is where the well is for your feet. The table's only going to be about this big, and probably only seat maybe 3 people here, which is what we always intended. But most of the time, as in like 90 to 95% of the time, this is going to be configured as a daybed. So you can lounge around here during the day. You can lounge around here if you want to watch TV or just be relaxed. Somewhere that you can always lay down. We have another table here and another table outside if you want to sit. So most of the time, we don't need this as a table. So most of the time, this is a daybed area. And the distance between these two walls is 6 feet 5 inches, or that in centimeters. So enough room for somebody to lay down here. If you're really tall, you'll have to lay at an angle. So that's coming along. We've got most of these pieces cut to where they need to be. So we have to trim that back piece now. We have to put an angle on it over there to fit the slope we're putting on the back over there. And the big job is going to be to add all of the different risers that we're going to be putting along here. Oh, here's one. We just cut all these, but there's going to be all these different risers that we have to glue on top of these things to get the seat height up to this level all along here and here and here and on the ends, on both ends over here. So we got to put all these risers on. So a lot of little adjustments to go, but we're starting to get there. These 3 are ready to go, and we just have to put the risers onto them. The way we're going to glue this in is cutting these ahead of time. We're going to start from here, since we know where this goes. It'll get fixed down. We're going to glue this back to it, and that'll give us the angle to cut this at. And so we'll just work our way over, gluing in as we go, and so that make sure everything fits as we do it. We just wanted to get this one House of Cards version up just to make sure that the layout was what we expected. And of course, we get a lot of storage in here too. So there's underneath of all these things, this is all storage around here. So that'll be a lot of extra storage that we'll need for food, mostly. If we're going for the long 6 months without reaching civilization again, then we'll be able to store a lot of food here. Food in the nav station cupboards, food in the cupboards up in the galley, and if we have to, there's cupboards down in the hallway so we can put more food into. So plenty of places. Oh, and 4 compartments under the floor for food. So we got plenty of food storage.
So as you can see, we did a lot of work on the nav station, getting things glued in, and we also laid out the daybed table area. And as promised, we finished the last of the laminating on this boat.
Yeah, that means we're done with Sycamore epoxy, because that's what we used for laminating. And the rest of the boat has still got a lot of epoxy work to go, but that's all going to be tabbing with West System epoxy, our favorite epoxy. We really prefer working with that. And so there's lots of fairing that we'll use West System for, and tabbing that we use West System for, but no laminations that I know of left. So that's good progress for us. So we were happy to get that all done. So thank you for watching our video this week. We do appreciate you stopping by.
And thank you to all of our patrons listed here. We could not do this project without you guys. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
Because it helps us.
And we do appreciate you watching the videos, because we can use every little dollar we can get, and that includes from the patrons, because there's just been a lot of extra costs, of course. This is not surprising, but there's just a lot of extra costs that have come along, and we're close to the edge of our total budget right now, with 11 months of work to go. So there's going to be some more unknowns that are going to show up. So we do appreciate all of you who watch the videos, and all of you who donate through Patreon. And if you have the means to join our Patreon group, we would really appreciate that. And it's as little as 50 cents a video. So just pop over to Patreon. But we'll see you next week for more work on building up the Daybed area, and other things as well. We're really pushing along on a lot of different areas on the boat. So we're hell-bent on getting this boat finished. See you next week.
Bye.